Thank you, Zacchaeus. Before we begin, I would like to take a quick poll. Oh, and I see that we are being recorded now. I would like to take a quick poll to see who is in attendance today for our speakers. So, Zacchaeus, can you pull up our first polling question? And we would like to know, what type of organization are you representing today? We'll give you a couple of seconds if you can answer those questions. It'll just give our speakers an idea of who we have in our audience today. I would like to say welcome to our first meeting of 2023. Okay. And thank you for submitting your answer. Excuse me, I have a slight tickle in my throat, but a majority of you today are from nonprofit agencies. We do have government agencies, municipalities, and other present today. So thank you for answering our polling question. I would like now to go over our agenda for today. So next slide. So we will be having updates from Valley Metro, also updates from the City of Phoenix, an update from the Public Health Organization. We will be having a presentation from ASU on recreational therapy. Our spotlight today will be on Savvy, and then I will be giving some regional updates, and our sub-regional mobility managers will present. I would like to welcome our first speaker today, which is Valley Metro. Valley Metro is a great partner to our program, and public transit is a great option for those where it's available and where it's appropriate for you to take. It has set deadline. We know where the bus services stop and start and where they go. We're really pleased. I'd like to welcome Brittany Hoffman, the Public Information Officer from Valley Metro, who will provide some public transit updates today. Welcome, Brittany.
Thank you, Dee Dee. I am Brittany Hoffman. I am the Public Information Specialist with Valley Metro. I am a Hispanic female, and my background is 2 light rail trains, our purple trains. So as you can see on the slides, I'm giving our updates today. And let's see if it will go for me. There we go. Okay, so first here is an overview of our ridership. So in November 2022, we saw over 2 million riders on bus, and we have seen a slight decrease with just 1.8 million coming on our bus system in January of 2023. For light rail, we have seen an increase over the past 3 months. So from November 2022, we saw 746,000 roughly to now 801,000. And so we're excited about the additional people hopping on light rail. Streetcar, as students left for school during their Christmas break, their holiday break, there was a big dip in our ridership on streetcar in December of 2022. In November, right before they left for the season, it was 70,000. It went to 33,000 in December. And then January, they started classes, I think the second week. So that ridership has gone up back to 59,000, and we hope to see that continually increase as those students are back in class. For paratransit, our numbers have stayed pretty steady from November through January. Roughly about 26,000 are hopping on paratransit for that time frame. And then same thing with ride choice. Those numbers are staying pretty even, seeing a slight increase from 15,300 to 15,600 over that time frame. So here's some of our project overviews. First, we launched mobile fare on February 1st, 2023. So that was a very big, exciting endeavor. We had launched the Valley Metro app back in July of 2021. And so since that time that we launched in 2021, there has been an all-time app downloads of 217,000, which is very exciting. And we have seen in the month of February, we didn't add in our March dates yet, but so month of February, excuse me, there were over 27,000 passes sold. And then there were over 36,000 passes scanned. And so the reason the scanned number is higher than the sold number is because for 1-day passes, we're asking all of our riders to scan every time they board. So every time they transfer from a bus to light rail, vice versa, or if you're taking multiple trips on bus or multiple trips on light rail, even though your pass is activated, once you've scanned it, we want to keep tracking where everybody goes. So we want to make sure that you're scanning every time. And that's really important as we progress through this fare technology modernization project, which will later in the year include changes to our fare vending machines, as well as our fare boxes on board. So mobile fare is the first step in our fare collection system modernization project, with more changes to come in the future. So I'm sure that when Guillermo's back, he'll be telling you about them. And then we got a big boost during Super Bowl, which we expected because we wanted all of our visitors to download the app, make sure they could track their train or bus, and then of course buy mobile fare, since a lot of people are used to purchasing digital passes or digital tickets at this time. So we'll get into those numbers in a minute, but here is a heat map. And so this is not separated by light rail and bus. We are working on that to make sure that we can figure that out for the future. But on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's a lot of grid dots, and that would be where all of our bus stops are. We're seeing a lot of usage in the West Valley, which is very encouraging. And so there's bigger dots that follow the light rail line. As you can see, going down 19th Avenue, down Central Avenue, there is a giant dot that's hovering right over our 44th Street and Washington Station. And of course, we're expecting that bump to, we expected that bump to happen with all of the visitors coming in town for Super Bowl. And so that's why that giant dot is in the middle right over our 44th Street station. And then you can continue to follow those bubbles all the way out to our Gilbert and Main station, our end of line. And there's a lot of traction happening through the Tempe downtown area as well. So we hope to see a lot more dots head out onto this map, but we're very encouraged, especially by the West Valley usage of mobile fare. So over Super Bowl weekend, as we mentioned, there were over 5,000 app downloads, which was very exciting to see. We had 4,417 passes sold with 4,800 passes scanned. We did see a lot more on our bus side than our rail side. Again, we're thinking that it's just a learning education curve. When you hop on a bus, it's very intuitive to scan that pass. Operators are looking for you to scan or have some indication that you're paying the fare as you hop on board. Whereas light rail, because it is an open platform system, once you've scanned that pass, it is activated. And so we're just making sure that we continue to educate our riders that they need to scan every time before boarding. And so we hope to see our rail numbers increase as people are scanning every time they board. And so that's why we think the rail numbers are just a little bit lower. Also, our ridership, as you saw on bus, is greatly is higher than our light rail numbers. And so we expected to see that disparity. We're not discouraged. We're only hoping that things go up in the meantime. So Super Bowl weekend, it was very exciting. We had over 250,000 riders hop on light rail to get to events in the downtown area. There was also big concerts happening up at Hants Park, which are served by our Roosevelt and McDowell stations. And so that number, the 250,000 riders, is 60% higher than our average ridership, which is a huge increase. We had over 150 volunteers out there contributing over 1,500 hours over the weekend. I know I was personally out there 3 of the 4 days. It was just really exciting to see all of the visitors and local residents partaking in these special activities that happen every, couple of years because of the Super Bowl or major events coming into our downtown area. So it was really exciting to see the influx of riders and be able to help them where they needed to go. But of course, you don't just need to know how to get to places on the ground. It takes over 400 staff members from operations, safety and security, to provide this enhanced service so that we could be able to run our trains. We were running from approximately 4 a.m. in the morning to 2 a.m. every night. So really almost 24-hour service on our light rail system during that weekend of Super Bowl. And it was greatly appreciated by both local and visitors. So I'm hoping this video will play. Let's see.
We did it, Arizona. We showed the world how we roll and how we roll out the red carpet. 250,000 plus Super Bowl event riders, 60% higher than average ridership. 150 Valley Metro staff volunteered over 1,500 hours. 400 plus employees from operations, safety, and security provided enhanced service. Valley Metro app now has 210,000 downloads. Here's a big thanks to all the volunteers, workers, and our staff that helped pull off an amazing Super Bowl experience. We'll see you next year for the Final Four, when we get to do it again.
So hopefully everyone was able to hear that. As I mentioned, everything I just told you is in the video. It's just a fun, more attractive way to see everything and definitely be in the moment, experience it. So we're, again, very excited for Final Four coming next year. So one thing we are doing is we are looking for more members for our Valley Metro Accessibility Advisory Group. This group meets bi-monthly, so every other month, and they are very in tune with all of the projects that are happening. I know personally that I have presented both on mobile fare and our fare collection system modernization project so that they can give input as we continue to roll out these programs, because we want to make sure that all of our components of our system, whether it's hopping on a train, a bus, or any of the website or programs that we're rolling out, are accessible to all of our users and future users. So our VMAG group does reflect the 15-member group consistency of Maricopa County. So we want to make sure that we are covering all of the areas of Maricopa County, which we know is very vast. So we want to make sure that we have a group that's diverse and reflective of that. So if you fall in any of these categories and would like to join VMAG, we would love to have you. So criteria for joining the VMAG group are a senior 65 or older, a person with a disability, a caregiver for a senior or a person with a disability, and an employee or volunteer of an organization which serves seniors or people with disabilities. And so if you would like to join VMAG, then you can, then you can apply at our valleymetro.org/accessibility advisory group and fill out an application online. There is an interview process that happens, but we just want to get to know more about you and how you would be serving our VMAG group and the region you live in. Obviously, very important to make sure we have a breadth of people from all over the valley. If you do have any questions, Guillermo, who typically gives this interview, is the guy to contact, and that's going to be at vmag@valleymetro.org. And we are excited because this group really does have a voice in helping to shape our transit system. These VMAG meetings are also open to anyone. So if you are so inclined, you can join the meeting. You don't have to be a VMAG member, but you can still be in the meeting and learn about all of the opportunities for input, and then maybe even feel more included to then to join the VMAG group and future meetings. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? You can either put them in the chat or unmute yourself. And thank you, Brittany, for that. I'll just give everybody just a minute to see if there's any questions. But Brittany, thank you so much for that update. And I would strongly encourage either joining or attending a BMAC group. It is very informative. It is made up of consumers. And this is a great opportunity to put input into programs from writers, from individuals, from some of your consumers, and to the programs they have. I've attended meetings where they've provided update on the Super Bowl and the transit options, also on the mobile fare, any service changes, especially for those agencies that do utilize public transportation, for your consumers. So I would highly recommend and encourage you to look into BMAG. So thank you, Brittany. You did a great job. We do have a question. This is pretty specific, but is it possible for an agency to purchase mobile fares on behalf of clients? We have done this with paper passes, but mobile would be so much easier.
Samantha, that's a great question. And we are actually in the process of reaching out to a lot of different agencies. If you could drop your contact information in the chat, I can grab it and make sure that it's given to our group. Because we know that, thank you. We know that there are many agencies who will be looking for opportunities how to change over to mobile fare or our additional options that will be available in the future. So yes, I will definitely get this information over to them so that you are part of that agency outreach group, so that we can figure out how to better suit the needs of your clients for sure. Awesome. Yes, anyone who wants to drop their information in there, more than happy to take it. So I'll be in here for like the next 5-ish minutes. But yeah, just drop your information in the chat box and I will make sure it gets to the right people.
Thank you, Brittany. And as always, if you don't have, if you think of a question later on, please email it to Kiss and I, and we can forward that on to either Gilmo or Brittany. So thank you so much. Greatly appreciate updates from Valley Metro. Okay, I will move on to our next agenda item, and we have another polling question for you. We would like to know if you are a Section 5310 subrecipient. The question is yes, no, or would like some more additional information. I'll give you a couple not minutes, but a couple seconds to put that in. And I am happy to say that I was one of the 250,000 riders during that Super Bowl weekend. I didn't go to any activities. We just took a look and saw what was set up and just looked around. But I'm glad to add my number to that. Okay, we will bring up our result. And 86% of you here today are subrecipients for Section 5310 funds, and the others are not. So we are glad to have you here. And if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to Ezekias or myself. But we will, this next agenda item is an update from the City of Phoenix. And I would now like to introduce and say Wendy Miller, who is the Federal Grants Administrator with the City of Phoenix Public Transit Department and our designated recipient for Section 5310, which is why we had the polling question, and who will like to give, who will now provide some updates regarding the program. So thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As you all, I'm sure most of you well know, we're in the midst of our 2-week review, eligibility review of all the applications, the 5310 applications that were submitted just a little over a week ago. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work as we're going through that and making sure everybody's dotted their I's and crossing their T's. If we have any questions or follow-up, we will be in contact with you if there's any concerns or adjustments that need to be made. And other than that, there's not too many updates, but I did want to share a little bit. I know this year we had just the ADA vehicles, but but I just wanted to give you a brief update that we are in the process of researching a potential cooperative agreement somewhere throughout the nation, if someone has one, to be able to buy the Buy America compliant minivans. So we are looking into that and working on that diligently in the event that we can make those purchases and make those available in future years. We just wanted to let you know that we are working on that diligently. So fear not, you know, there hopefully will be a solution at least for the next round. And really that is my update. It should be very brief today, but I am absolutely open to questions.
Thank you, Wendy, for that update. And definitely, yes, we are in the midst of our 2-week internal review. Thank you, City of Phoenix. You've been a great designated recipient. If you have any questions regarding the application, whether this year or in past, if you still have a contract, any questions regarding Section 5210, please reach out to the City of Phoenix staff. So do we have any questions? Anything in chat? And again, we would also like to extend the opportunity if you can't think of a question now and then all of a sudden think of it after the meeting, please feel free to email myself or Ezekias or the City of Phoenix email address, and we can get that answered for you. Okay, see no further questions. We will move on to the next agenda item. So thank you so much. When we last met in December, we were headed into the holidays, and these past few months, we've seen quite the temperature drop in our area, and surprisingly with snow in Cave Creek. So all of these changes takes a toll on the human, on a person's health. So we are so pleased to have with us once again, Lori Thomas, who is the manager of Healthy Aging, to provide information and updates from the Maricopa County Department of Public Health. Thank you, Lori, for being here.
Thank you. Hezekias, were you able to add the new presentation that I just sent for updating?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. Okay, next. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit today about RSV, about flu and COVID. Next. As you can see here, flu, if you'll take a close look here, our current season is in the dark color right there, the turquoise, and then a 5-season weekly average is the dotted line. So you can see we had peaks from October to February versus how it was before in the last 5-season weekly average. And then you see the average from the 2021 and the 2022. So we had a much stronger season starting in October and then tailing off a little bit in February. Okay, next. Okay, influenza-like illness rather than just flu. You can see that spread is a little different. It's still higher starting in October and still higher in February. And that's our current season, and that's where we're not sure it is actually the flu, but it's influenza-like. And so you can see how that is. Most often, the flu season continues on, as you can see, so we still need to take precautions, but we did have much higher peaks than the years past. Next. RSV, these are laboratory confirmed cases of RSV in our county. And as you can see, this peaks what we saw with flu. And we had a lot in November and December, and then it is coming down in February. And so if we follow the tradition, it will get lower and lower as we go into the other months. But we did have a lot of RSV, especially among young children. Next. Okay, this is the COVID-19 epi curve for the last 60 days. And this looks a lot different than it did last year at this time. But as you can see, we are trending down. And in the middle of February, we had about 400 cases per 100,000 there. So looking pretty good. Next. Now, these are COVID hospitalizations for the last 60 days. And you can see we had a 7.8% decrease from the week prior, and a small decrease in the percent of inpatients in use by COVID-19 patients, and a little bit of increase of ICU beds. So we still have COVID going on, but these are the type and the names of the variants that we're using. And a lot of people have been referring it to the latest variant as Xbox because of the XBB. Kind of funny, but you can see that it's hard to target because the variants come quickly and then another variant comes. So you can see the kind that we're now experiencing. The XBB 0.15 is 40%. So, and some of the others that you may be familiar with, BA5 and BQ11, are decreasing at this time. Doesn't mean they can't come back. Next. Okay, next. Now, flu vaccine effectiveness, the VE. The effectiveness for flu, 54% for preventing medically attended influenza A infection among persons aged under 65. So it's just, once again, it's recommended, and the statistics and proof show that getting vaccinated for flu or for COVID decreases likeliness of death and hospitalization. So you can take a look at that. Now, nationally, only 16% of eligible individuals have received their updated vaccine, which is really not good. And Arizona, in long-term facilities, comes in dead last for being vaccinated. Why is that? There are a lot of people working on that right now. Why the facilities are so low. Some people are saying that the persons that work there aren't required or mandated by the state to have vaccinations. And some people are saying that it's because the children of those patients are not willing, if they have power of attorney, are hard to locate, or are not willing to say that their parents or loved ones can get vaccinated. There seem to be a lot of different reasons, but to me, there shouldn't be, because the state of Arizona will now go out to a long-term care facility with no minimum. It is free, no cost to the facility, no cost for administering it, no cost for the vaccination, and the form is very easy to fill out to have someone come to your facility. So there's really no reason that the vaccination rates shouldn't be higher for a long-term care facility. Next. If you need a vaccine, you can call the care team for appointments at 602-506-6767. Now that's for flu or for COVID booster. And I see someone in the chat ask how many you should have by now. There were 2 boosters beyond the original vaccination. So if you got the original vaccination, of which there were most times 2, there would have been 2 boosters. So for most people, that would have been 4 immunizations for most people. Okay, next. Antiviral therapeutics. If you are at risk for moderate to severe disease with COVID influenza infections, they're asking us to test early, test to treat locations at that site if you want to find out where they're still testing. Paxlovid and the other antiviral there are available to treat COVID-19 still. A lot of people are not recommending that or not getting that done, but it is available. Tamiflu is still available to treat influenza. And monoclonal antibody therapy is no longer effective against circulating COVID-19 variants, so that is not suggested. Now, there is a new COVID and flu home test authorized by the FDA, and you can look that up and go and have it checked. Next. Now, Mpox, that is what used to be referred to as monkeypox. That vaccine is available at all Maricopa County vaccine clinics, and it's for post-exposure and pre-exposure prophylaxis, and appointments can be made by calling the care teams again at the 506-6767. There is a Maricopa County Mpox website, and you can go there and it can give you all the places that are currently doing those vaccinations. So you can go and find a vaccine location nearest you. Next. Next. Okay, here it talks about our community level. And as you can see there, the community level for Maricopa County is still medium as of February 16th. And you can see what other cases, there are some other that are higher in other parts of the country. Some are lower. Next. This is what we were talking about, that the community transmission data for healthcare centers in Arizona is still very high. So we have a lot of new cases per 100,000 persons in the last 7 days. And we talked a little bit about why that transmission is so high and what we're trying to do about that. So if you have a loved one in a long-term care, do request that they receive all of their immunizations and boosters for COVID-19. You can encourage the administration and the nursing staff to allow your loved one to get the COVID-19, and they can request that. So make sure that you do that. Next. So there are things that we still need to do. In most healthcare settings, masking is still recommended for patient encounters, and some healthcare settings have implemented optional masking policies, but it is still very high in healthcare settings. So keep that in mind when you go visit. Next. Remembering to wash your hands. In addition to preventing the spread of respiratory disease, regular hand washing can prevent the spread of gastrointestinal diseases. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about stomach flu and different things that have been going around lately. I am not even sure how to pronounce this bacteria related, but it's kind of a drug resistant Shigella that's spreading, but this is just a bacteria that is spreading intestinally and making people sick. So do what you can to prevent the spread of this by washing your hands. And norovirus has recently had positivity as high as 15% nationally. Next. Okay, next. Okay, things to remember. Public health emergency ends May 11th, and that was the emergency status for COVID-19. FDA's emergency status for COVID-19 products, which were tests and vaccines and treatments, those aren't going to be affected. But Medicaid's enrollment will end. Coverage for vaccines and testing transition to private sectors, and Medicaid and Medicare telehealth flexibilities will not be affected. Medicare waivers and flexibilities related to COVID-19 may be impacted. So what all of this means is that if you were on access which is Arizona's Medicaid, and you didn't renew and weren't required to renew during COVID, you must renew now or you are in danger of losing your coverage. So you need to go on. You probably have received letters, but there are some that may not have received notice. And in order to continue your coverage, you must go to the site and reapply. There was a time period during COVID when they didn't make you reapply under that emergency authorization, but that is now over, ending May 11th. We have heard figures as high as 650,000 people that could possibly lose their coverage in the state. So make sure for those of you who have loved ones who are on access that they are currently enrolled. Next. This is some of that information that I was just telling you. Medicaid, it could possibly impact 650,000. And there are a lot of different coverage options, and you can call 211 or visit coverarizona.org. And I'm trying to see what that, .org/connector. Those are ways that if you are no longer eligible, you can find out what you may be eligible for. And there is the access site to check on your eligibility right there. And Hezekiah, can I have you put that in the chat? So
Yes,
make
I'll do that.
sure that you go in and update your info with access, and that you may now be called to pay monthly kids care premiums when you weren't asked to before. And you may want to visit that coveraz.org/connector to make an appointment with a healthcare enrollment assister if you are not sure that you are still eligible. Next. Okay, here is our ask for today. Maricopa County does a community health needs assessment every 3 years. And we really are interested in what is going on with your health, your opinions, your concerns. And we want to know how you're feeling about your community. We want your voice to count. And so we'd love to have you take the survey and share the survey. And we are hoping to get 15 to 18,000 responses. That might not sound like a lot, but in order to get that many, we need it to really be widespread. It is available in 14 languages, and there are many hospitals that purchase the information from us to determine the offerings that they're going to have and how their money is going to be spent, as well as cities. And we would just hope that you would take the time to go to that, and we can put that in the chat as well, that bit.ly, right there, that link, Maricopa CHNA, and have you go and take that, because it does determine where resources are going to be spent, and also where, how you are feeling and where monies will be directed. I see there is a question on shingles. If you do go to vaccines on our county website, you will see that many of those sites are offering shingles vaccines as well for no fee. But we have seen some cases of shingles, and we do encourage you, if you're over 50, to go and get shingles vaccine. Are there any other questions? I so appreciate people saying, yeah, sharing your experience with shingles. It's not pretty. It's very painful, and it can be prevented. So please take care and do that. Please also feel free to share this information on the survey. Share it to any audience that you feel would be appropriate. Also, someone just put in the chat that shingles vaccine is now covered under Medicare starting 2023. Thank you for that. That's great news. So are there any other questions?
Thank you, Lori, for that presentation. Yes, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in your chat or to unmute yourself. I know Laurie did a great job. You did provide a lot of information. It was at the end, I'm sorry to interrupt. Was at the, it was
Yes.
at the end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I know there's a lot of information, very great, good information. We will post the presentation on our website. So, and thank you, Ezekias, for putting those links into the chat. While people are thinking of the questions, I have actually two. What is a comment? It is a little concerning that we are still seeing our COVID status pretty high. While I looked at when I saw your maps where some of our surrounding states are kind of decreasing
Mhm.
on their level. Would this be the case of our larger older adult population, or I'm not quite, it is very concerning.
Well, it absolutely is. That is definitely one of the reasons, is that we have more population at risk. We have more people with that are at risk with comorbidities. We also have people, a large population of people that are over the age of 60. And we have, sometimes we have a political climate where people are less concerned with safety measures and are ready for those to be over, and are less, or perhaps less conservative than other portions of the country. So there are a number of reasons, and they call that COVID fatigue, but there are many reasons. One of the things that is so hard to understand is why we would be number 50 in immunizations in long-term care. That one's tough because the spread is so high. But we are meeting, in fact, later this afternoon to address that with the State Health Department and many others. So we're doing what we can, but we still need to be very vigilant, because as we know, this does rear its head. So we do need to keep doing some of the same precautions of, the hand washing and the hygiene and things that you would do, in trying to keep things that are contagious away from others, and keeping up your vaccination and those types of things. There is a wane in vaccinations too. If for those who got theirs very, very early, may consider getting boosters as well. But that is true. Now, some of the populations, some of the states have much less population than we do too. If you look at places like Connecticut or Vermont or Maine, some of them have less population.
Thank you for that. And thank you for the reminder that it's still with us, even though we are seeing a decrease in the numbers. It is still with us, and definitely a lot of our participants here today are dealing with those in vulnerable populations, older adults and persons with disability. So it's a great reminder for the public to keep ahead of that. I have a question. If we have the older COVID test, are they still effective? Can we still utilize those?
They have a date, an expiration date on the box. And
Okay.
we have been told that they are safe to use 3 months after the expiration date, but would probably not keep those or use those much after that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? And again, we appreciate the opportunity for putting our input into and being able to take the survey for Maricopa Health Matters. I think it's really important, especially for consumers, to have a voice in activities and programs. So thank you for that. And we will definitely have this posted.
Well, we appreciate that. We know MAC does their own survey, and when that comes, we take it. And we appreciate all the work that you do with your survey. When is yours?
We, I'm not quite sure. That's a good question.
Oh,
We
okay.
will-
Well, sometimes they coincide and sometimes not. It just all depends. But the information is important. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
And anybody we can share. We'd love to have people share it. And what's really nice about this one, as probably with yours as well, is that we can tell if we are reaching certain populations and if we need to go deep into some underserved populations. We have live so that we can tell if there's an age group that we're missing or that we're behind on that's not being represented in the returns that we see. So we can look at that and then perhaps some more effort into some of those populations so that we can also get information from them. So it's really great to be able to do that, so that we want to hear from everyone's voice.
Definitely. And how long will this be open?
Oh, good point. Until May 31st.
May 31st? Okay, thank you. We will definitely want to get this into our newsletter. Thank you.
Oh, that would be great. And anywhere else you'd like to publicize that for anyone else that's on the call. A lot of work has gone into this. We also have, if you'd like me to forward it, a little video that explains what it is, how it's been used in the past. I would be happy to do that if anyone has a need for that or a concern as to its legitimacy or how it's used. I'd be happy to forward that.
That would be great. And maybe we can add that to our newsletter link. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay. So are there, I don't see any other questions. And of course, we want to give the same opportunity. If you think of a question afterwards, feel free to email it to Ezekiel or myself, and we can get that to Lori. Thank you. You've been such a great partner through this whole thing, and we hope to continue to have you available. And we did say thank as always for your continued advocacy, Lori.
Well, we so appreciate this avenue to get information out and all the good work that every person on this call does. So thank you so much. And we know what transportation is and what kind of barrier it can be for access to help. So we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. I would like, and again, a lot of information is being presented today, and we will have this presentation posted on our MAG website. I would now like to go to our next agenda item. And the purpose of our meeting is to provide you with information and resources to assist you in the work that you do. We are pleased to have with us today Christina Coleman with ASU School of Community Resources and Development to present on recreational therapy. Thank you for being with us here today, Christina. I will hand it over to
you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So I am Christina Coleman. I am a teaching assistant professor at Arizona State University, as well as a PhD candidate at the University of Utah. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do as a recreational therapy professor and a recreational therapist myself for the last 12 years, but also about my current research going on, because in looking through a lot of the comments, I'm recognizing that the population that I'm serving currently matches a lot of the people that you're serving as well. And I want to share about the conversation shift that I'm making in research for people with disabilities. If you could go to the next page, please. So I am a new professor at ASU. I have been there for a whole 7 months. And so I'm also new to Arizona. I am so fortunate to have the opportunity to be in the School of Community Resources and Development. With a big aspect of that is we get to be a part of the community, which allows me to be a part of this conversation and give back to these conversations as well about transportation and health disparities, and greater access for inclusion and accessibility for people in our societies, and which I love. And that's why I'm a recreational therapist as well. And I love the connection of our schools to this community. Also, I'm a PhD candidate. I am finishing up my dissertation, so I'm currently working on a study that I'm going to share to you. But on top of that, I've also been a recreational therapist working typically or predominantly in mental health, specifically extra large mental health facilities, privately owned. So typically our facility would hold about 330 patients, not including our outpatient programming. So if we included our outpatient programming, we would serve as recreational therapists about 600 to 700 clients daily. I served at one of these facilities in Texas for 8 years, and then moved to the University of Utah for my PhD, and then worked at the Neuropsychiatric Institute here at University of Utah, and so then worked for an academic funded university hospital, which was an incredible experience. And then I've also worked in contract community settings in Texas. We have contracting, and so we would work one-on-one with clients and introduce leisure activities as well as introduce accessibility and independence. Next, please. All right, so my focus in research as a professor is physical disability centered research. There is a lot of research, especially in pediatric and adolescent research, that is kind of convoluted, but also is missing, for not a better word. It's a well-known fact that pediatric and adolescent research is avoided because of the stressors with getting approval to even test in these populations or research in these populations. I can attest it is difficult. I've been going through it currently, and but I'm adamant to be a part of this conversation. So if you go to the next page, please. Short background. American youth have a significant higher rate of mental health issues across the board, and youth with physical disabilities are looped into this number on our federal and nationwide census, or like just in general, like all of the advocacy organizations are all looping in individuals with physical disabilities, with able-bodied people, with alongside of those with intellectual and developmental disabilities as well. And so I feel like these statistics are becoming convoluted, and we're not truly serving these populations well. We are avoiding the conversations that people with disabilities have different stressors or more complex stressors than able-bodied people. And so we are ignoring the fact that they have additional healthcare needs, going to the doctors more, having longer stays at hospitals, having longer times to take care of their daily needs and hygiene needs, where for many people, for some adolescents, it takes like 10 minutes. For many of their general hygiene needs, probably should be longer, but we know that it's probably taking around 10 minutes. Where some of the youth that I serve, their hygiene and bowel care takes up to 3 hours. And so that takes away, that's like from 3 to 6 p.m. with some of my clients. And so that's all of their social time. That's any time that they would be using for homework time, and relaxation is used for their self-care. And this is adding to their stress and their mental health complexities as well. Next page. Next page. So next page, already discussed that. So many of the coping mechanisms that our society is teaching is spend time in nature, practice yoga, do exercises, manage your time, think positive, read books, practice art. And a lot of these, next page, are not actually accessible to many of these people with physical disabilities. If we just address yoga, mindfulness, a lot of the general typical coping mechanisms out there, which are very much so what I teach as a recreational therapist in mental health practices, is a lot of these go into nature. How many nature environments are actually not accessible for many people? I've been talking with a lot of people at Ability 360 and how they want to go hiking, but just the boundary, like post of hiking trails, prevent their wheelchair from making their spots available. It's going to be a wide enough trail, or it's going to be a level enough trail for their track chairs to be able to go on those sites, but they can't even access it because their chair is too wide. So yes, spend time in nature, but then nature is not actually accessible. Practice yoga, but many times yoga is made for able-bodied people. And yes, there's chair yoga, but there's not enough people trained in chair yoga to make it actually beneficial or an accurate portrayal of what chair yoga is. They're generally just, not just, I appreciate yoga providers. They're typically yoga providers that are using chair techniques and blending their practices where they're not trained in chair yoga, so then don't understand the body mechanic differences of individuals with disabilities. And then all of the rest of these kind of make sense, and we utilize them when we make adaptations. But the general conversation is for the able-bodied person, and I want to change this conversation. Next page. So I'm focusing currently on mindfulness. Mindfulness is highlighted as accessible for all people in the scientific research, in commonplace in our society. This is touted currently as the most accessible, most relevant use of or purpose for coping mechanisms. It is, in most conversations with me for recreational therapy right now, is, well, just use mindfulness. Well, when people are not trained in mindfulness and not trained in working with people with disabilities, they are not biomechanically addressing all of the changes. When some of my clients have, or some of the participants in my study are have spina bifida, they've never felt their feet before, where mindfulness practices ask you to breathe all the way down into your feet. Well, if you don't know what your feet feel like, and I've asked my participants about this, if I said breathe into your feet, what would you picture? How would you breathe into your feet? And they were like, we just don't, we stop where we can feel. And so I changed my practices to say, breathe into the lowest part of your body and breathe, make and scan back forward. And so changing the terminology, changing the perspective of what we're saying so that it actually serves the clients and they get the full benefit of the mindfulness program and not just what is available. As well as it's also causing further exclusion. So many of the participants, when I'm introducing my study, I even say I'll explain, I want to have the conversation that is excluding you and your children, or excluding your children or this child itself, that they cannot participate in the mindfulness or don't even want to because they don't have access to it fully. And they're just like, oh yeah, it's just another thing. Or they're like, oh, that's just another mental health group that I have to be a part of. And they don't actually benefit and take anything away. So what's actually going to make the difference for these youth who are also a part of this epidemic of health crises for youth. Next page. So therefore, I'm seeking to establish the conversation and developing effective coping mechanisms within the mind and body focus for people with physical disabilities. And this is I'm currently focusing on youth, but eventually my conversation and research will go across the spectrum of ages. Next page. So my study is called Learning to Breathe. It's a curriculum-based 6-week program for adolescents with adolescents. It's based on research from more at-risk youth environments and based out of Philadelphia. But my study specifically is going to look at the effects of social anxiety, perceived stress, self-regulation, and somatic pain to increase social participation among youth with physical disabilities. It is a feasibility study, so this study is packed full of just qualitative and quantitative perspectives to add a full-bodied conversation around these topics. Next page. So the program will focus on the body, the thoughts, emotions, attention, tenderness, habits, and then the overall goal is empowerment. The first 3 weeks is really having participants address and engage in each one of these considerations. So starting off with a body scan or sensory perspectives, and then going into the thoughts and addressing how many youth and adolescents experience these really hard shifts in how they're thinking about themselves and how they think about their abilities, how they think about their disability, their families, their friends, how excluded they feel, and a lot of just hard, heavy, junky conversations that they don't want to share out loud. We get to share those in this space. And then we talk about surfing our emotions and how our emotions will just go and come and return to us, and how we should honor what our emotions are saying, but not make them more important and more valuable than the other parts of who we are as a person. And then we bring our attention to all three of these things. And then my favorite shift is tenderness, which is our week 5. And then we work on loving kindness and self-compassion and compassion of others, and working on in like peacefulness of compassion. This week is where our conversations get really deep and really supportive of each other. And you see these youth really breaking these barriers of what conversations they've been avoiding because they don't want to bring up their disability. And this is where they get really goofy with their disabilities and share openly and have those hard conversations and talk about the stress they feel and how they're still going through the same emotions and reactions and peer conflicts that their other peers are having. They just feel like they get bullied on top of it with their disabilities. And then we work on habits the final week. We reintegrate everything they've learned for the week before and the weeks before, and then we solidify how they're going to make a habit. What are those things that they're going to practice each week to make sure that they find space for mindfulness in their daily life? And then empowerment is the whole thing. So each week we talk about empowerment and gaining an inner strength and how each one of these aspects helps them gain an inner edge. Next page. This goes through the whole study. It's an 8-week, it ends up being a 3-month study. So week 1, we do assessment, and week 8, we do an assessment. And then both of those have interviews with them. Weeks 2 through 7, we do each session. And then week 7, we also do a focus group. And then 1 month later, we're also having a follow-up interview on the goal of mindfulness. This is really fun. And this is one of our like extensions to the study, actually, that in the Learning to Breathe program, we've noticed that no one has actually had a qualitative interview on the empowerment aspect of learning to breathe and how does it really change. What is the actual conversation around gaining an inner edge, and do they really understand it 1 month after the event? Next page. So I'm still recruiting. It's been really challenging having, I've had a lot of hurdles working with youth with physical disabilities come with complexities. And part of that is also having a Zoom session. And I am recruiting from Utah, Arizona, and Texas because I'm from Texas, did my PhD in Utah, and now live in Arizona. I have a lot of connections. However, people are burned out on Zoom things. So I'm still recruiting. I need to reach a max of 30. I am starting up 2 more groups this next week, and then I'll need to start 1 to 2 more groups to meet my goal. So if you have any clients or participants in your groups, residents in your groups that you're serving that meets this criteria, I would love to connect with them. So ages 10 through 17, no cognitive impairments, can recruit from nationally located organizations. They must have access to internet and electronic device with video recording, and is able to read, write, and understand English. Next page. So this is a parallel study. We're using quantitative and qualitative through interviews and surveys to add to this conversation. Next page. Current recruitment. So I'm currently recruited out of Arizona, Utah, and Texas from adaptive sports programs. The primary children's hospital here in Salt Lake City. I'm currently in Salt Lake City working for the spring break, as well as Shriners Hospital. And we've also gotten some participants from different physical rehabilitation treatment programs, their peers, and other care providers. So we have a wide range of where our participants are from. And this is the one aspect that they really love, is that they come to our groups, and when they come on Zoom, they're meeting somebody from Utah or Arizona or Texas, and they can see their like selves in those people, and they can have those like conversations despite what state they may be from, or what age they are, or what is their what is their current sport or current activity that they're participating in. Next page. So I mentioned this earlier. I've already finished my first group. Second group will finish on Thursday. Group 3 will be starting hopefully next week. Group 4 will start the week after. So then I'm still recruiting 1 to 2 more groups just to support fidelity of the whole study. And then next page. So this is the current outcomes of the study, is that we've been able to provide safe spaces to have hard conversations. and provides spaces for busy schedules. My current group right now, they're all seniors. They all are a part of 3 different adaptive sports, all on leadership programs at their schools, have physical therapy, OT, and also choose to participate in this study. And each time I start with just thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. I know this is another thing on your schedule, and every single time, because I want them to know that I appreciate their taking their time for the research study. And each time they're like, no, this is my safe space for the week. This is where I get to relax and recenter, and it's fun. And then we get to move on, and I still have to go back to my homework, but I look forward to this moment. One of them is like a serious D&D player, and he's like, he tells his players that his team that he participates in right before our group that he has to stop and come to us, and then he'll go back to them and play. So they do a pause for an hour, and then they go back to playing their game. And so I love that they're really gaining a lot from this program. And then I provide space for them to joke openly. I had a participant I've had 2 participants who have cancer, and one had to have some major surgeries, and she just was on her leg, and she just lifted her leg up and waved it around and was like, hey, and just had fun and was joking despite being in pain and being tired with chemo, and just got to get to know those people so well that they got to be goofy and allowed the other ones to say how much they feel shame about their disability, and they got to be in a space they didn't feel shameful about their disability. And then just constantly, I want to create a goofy space and a relaxing space at the same time. A lot of these students have a lot of stress in their environments. And so yes, I'm asking a lot of them to participate in the study, but I want them to have a space where they can be goofy, they can relax. And so I make sure that it's a feasibility study. If you could do it, thank you, I appreciate it. If you can't, I understand. And so if I'm really pumped to continue to share mind and body practices in research, but also making the connections within community programs that I can continue to provide resources across planes of Phoenix and disabilities. So thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for your presentation. If you have, once again, if you have any questions for Christina, put it in your chat. Definitely, we want to take an opportunity. If you have any questions afterwards, you can email Ezekiel and myself. This is great. It's really good to see that mindfulness is pretty new for the general public, but it's really good to see that you are looking at having it being more accessible. I mean, being able to have those techniques, but making it more accessible and thinking about accessibility. Definitely, as a KISS has seen your presentation, and it kind of brought it to home when you're thinking about relaxation techniques, and and a lot of times they say place your feet on the ground. When you're sitting, put your feet on the ground. I'm very short statures, and that can be a little bit harder for me sometimes. But I'm really glad to see that this perspective, it is trying to be inclusive to everybody, because mindfulness, it is helpful, and it does change, how you interact. And being able to have those coping skills should be accessible for everybody. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay. And again, thank you once again. We will have the presentation posted on the website. If you have any, if you know of anybody who would like to participate in the study, please reach out to Christina, or you can reach out to Ezekiel or myself, and we can pass along that information. So thank you so much. So moving on to our next agenda item. This is what I like the most of our agenda item, is our agency spotlight. This is an opportunity to spotlight the great work that all of you here participating today provides to the community. You are such a great asset. The work that you do, you're on the front lines, and we know we know the great work that you do, but we would like to share that with all of our participants here today. And maybe there could be an opportunity where there could be a collaborative effort on some of your programs. So I'm very excited today that we have Rachel Kuntz, Community Relations Liaison, who will provide an overview of the programs at the Southern Arizona Association for the Visually Impaired. I know them as Savvy. So thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I've had to do all kinds of crazy fun things to be able to access today's event. So,
And thank you for that. We can hear you.
okay, good. My computer won't connect to the internet and my phone, so I'm just having one of those technology days. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Rachel Kuntz, and I am the Community Relations Liaison at Savvy Services for the Blind. And this is kind of a new position that we have. And my job is to help build bridges between what we do here at Savvy and what is going on out in the greater community, so that we can create more opportunities together. When I first was hired at Savvy 2 years ago almost, I was the employment specialist, and now this role is kind of a little more directly related to just getting out into the community, because I love to talk. So they want to put me out there. I was actually raised in Dayton, Ohio. I'm a new transplant to Phoenix. So I just want to say go Buckeyes to anyone who might be listening that is an OSU fan. And before I get started on anything related to Savvy, I just want to kind of put out there that I am a blind woman, and I use the word blind instead of using visually impaired. It's a personal preference of mine and the philosophy that we have here at Savvy Services for the Blind. When I say blind, I'm referring to people who are not just completely without vision at all, so no vision whatsoever, not even shadows or anything, all the way up to people who may even be legally blind. And for those of you who don't know, in the US, we measure legal blindness by anyone who has less than 20 degrees field of vision, or who is 2200 in their better eye with corrective lenses. So that one's a little more complicated. But basically that means that with eyeglasses, when you're wearing your corrective lenses, your contacts or your glasses, someone who can see things from 200 feet away, a person who is legally blind would have to get as close as 20 feet to see those same things that are 200 feet away. So those are the things that we do. The reason why I personally have accepted and used the word blind in my life, and of course why we do that here at this agency, is because we want to convey the message that there isn't any shame in being blind. I don't feel that I'm a broken person in any way, so I don't consider myself impaired. I've gone through a lot of personal growth in some training and some non-visual skills building and confidence building and all that kind of stuff. So I'm living a really great life. And I find that blindness is one more thing about me that is just part of the myriad of things that are about me. I liked earlier today, I don't have this very often, but I do like when people do tell me how they look or what they're wearing or anything like that, because the video feeds, someone like me often doesn't get that information. So I think I'll share mine too. So I'm blind, which I mentioned, I'm blonde, and I am a white female. So since I enjoyed other people saying it, I thought I would share that as well. So I'm going to have 3 objectives with today's spotlight, and that is that I hope that I can teach you a little bit about what we do, and keep you informed about some of the major changes that have been going on. And then lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about how we might be able to collaborate more together. I'd love to be able to partner with many of you guys on this call today. And so, all right, so Savvy Services for the Blind. What do we do? We are a non-visual skills training center, and not just the non-visual skills part, but along with that is that we really focus hard on developing the confidence of people who attend our center. So Savvy has a slogan, which I really like. It says, I'm going to get it wrong, but I always mix up my words, but it's it goes like this. It's not what you can see, it's what you can do. And that is our tried and true philosophy. So when a student starts in our program, they are probably thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I've lost my vision and I am just in this tragic phase. But by the end of working with us, when they move on, hopefully they have then instilled with themselves that their options are relatively unlimited, and they believe that they can do anything. Every single person at our organization that works for us takes part in something that we call immersion training, which is where we will wear a blindfold, regardless of whatever vision level we have. And we will take part in the non-visual, the training. So you might, if you were a driver for our organization, you might throw on a blindfold for a couple hours and learn to read Braille. You might also get the experience of using a computer with screen reading software, or cook in our kitchen, or use power tools, whichever the case may be. We do this with all employees. It doesn't matter what position you're in. You could be the president of the company, or you could be a part-time maintenance person. Everybody takes part in this, at least for the first month while they're here, and then periodically after that. And it really means a lot to the students that are here to know that people are also trying to learn what the experience is like, and to learn that just with a few little adaptations that people can do a lot of different things that they didn't think were possible. We live in this visual world, so sometimes we think that the only way to do things is through eyesight, but if you came to our center, you would really find out that there really isn't a whole lot, maybe other than professional sports, that people can be ruled out from and driving for now, but I'm waiting on that opportunity. So we actually help children who are losing vision or who are blind. We have all year round programs and summer programming for them. We have college age students who participate in program that's specially designed for them, preparing them for college, and the rigors of college. And then also when they're in college, some academic support still to support them in things like providing ways to be more accessible, or even just providing somebody who can actually go into a document that isn't accessible for the moment and help them get the information from it. Think about math and graphs and charts. You might need somebody who's really good at explaining that. So we have people on our academics team that can support people in that. Then we work with adults who are seeking employment. So anybody who is of legal age to work, they can come into our program. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you have an employment goal, we work with you through our comprehensive training, which means it's basically like a full-time job of working on your blindness skills. And when you're done, you should be ready to get started on your career goal. And then we also work with people over the age of 55 who don't want to find a job. They want to enjoy their retirement and be as independent as possible. And we do all kinds of different goals with them that encourage that, give people ideas on how to adapt, learn how to do medications or things like that, just on their own. And then we teach people English who are blind. The English world of learning English is a very visual thing. Most of the time, people use pictures and other things in order to teach someone who doesn't know English how to speak it and write it. Well, we work with people who are blind, and in that situation, there are a lot of different methodologies we use in order to be successful at that. Our students then go through all kinds of other training and are a part of everything we do here at Savvy. So they're very much included in part of our community. And we also work with families at times. Sometimes the bigger barrier to someone adjusting to blindness is family dynamics. We are loved so much, and that can interfere with a student's ability to, achieve to this level. And so we have some different options for families to help them kind of learn a little bit better and understand what we do and be more connected to the progress that their loved one is going to make. So that is in a nutshell. I kind of left out all the actual acronyms and other names for each of the programs just because I'm trying to keep it from sounding like I'm giving you guys an alphabet soup. But every one of those programs are something that you guys are all welcome to check out more. There are a few things that we've been doing here recently that people should be aware of. One of the big things that we have been transitioning into is that our name is Savvy Services for the Blind. It used to be that SAVI stood for an acronym, which was Southern Arizona Association for the Visually Impaired. Now we go by SAVI, which is just the capital S and a lowercase AAVI, kind of keeping our history, but also moving forward with that philosophy that I mentioned earlier about blindness and how much we embrace the term blind. So we're Savvy Services for the Blind now. I don't know how far along we are in the legal paperwork, but I know that we definitely have a that is all over our signage these days. So you might notice that subtle difference when communicating with us. And then one of the big things that we've done, we're about a year anniversary now of our new location. We actually bought a building in East Phoenix, or northeast-ish Phoenix at 7th Street and East 5th. We're directly across the street from the Phoenix Country Club. And we are loving our new building. It's wonderful for us now, but then it's actually going to give us some room to expand down the road. So prior to moving into this home, we were pretty much in leases all over the place. So it kind of limited our ability to grow and expand. So we're really excited. I don't know if anybody knows this neighborhood, but the building used to be a charter school, I believe. And it's right next to Papa John's. So anytime you guys want to come over and take a tour, you're welcome. Let's see. And then we have a class that we're offering right now. We know that blindness is one of those things that people don't really know about until they have to know about it. And we created a free program for people called Ability Builds Confidence. And our little acronym for that is ABC. And once a week on Wednesdays from 4:30 to 6, we have a free open to the public session for people to learn more about blindness. And each week we have a different subject area that we focus on, but it depends on who shows up. And maybe sometimes we decide, instead of talking about employment, because the team that's there wants to know how to use their phone, we might work on that. But each week we do have a plan in place, and it's a rolling schedule. So you can come anytime to any session you want. Just reach out to us and we'll make sure you get added into our list of people coming. So basically it means that this ABC class means that getting your life back after vision loss can be as easy as ABC. That's my commercial. So let's see. All right. And lastly, I would just want us to think about some ways in which we might be able to collaborate with each other. Some of the things that people don't know, other than training, working with blind people, we actually can work with employers and other nonprofits to help them. These things are something we just do as a community project. We've helped people test their websites and other things like that, just to determine that whether or not it's accessible. We've worked with community partners and working on things like their portals for hiring, and whether or not there's any barriers there that they didn't think about or didn't really realize until a user who is a screen reader user actually tried to apply for a job. So we also do some diversity and equity and inclusion training that will help people better understand how to work with people who have experienced vision loss and who are blind. And those are a lot of fun. We can actually program that geared specifically towards what people are more interested in. Like, let's say, for example, you would like to work with clients more so, or you think your team might be better served if they understood better how to work with someone on their team, or any measure of things. We are happy to come in and go over some of the different things, myths about blindness, and give you some ideas on how to be more inclusive. We hope that at some point we'd be able to collaborate with you on hiring more blind people. our unemployment rate is about 70% and sort of a kind of struggle there for a very long time. Savvy success rate is really, really good. It's much higher than the national average of only 30% of people finding work or being competitively employed. So hopefully that one thing that we could do as a community together is work on some ways to hire more blind people, whether that is to just kind of talk out, maybe you're not sure how a blind person might do a specific job. We're happy to help people know the possibilities that are out there. Also, we have a summer program with some high school students and college age kids who are always looking for 2-week internship opportunities. And that's another area or two where we're looking for. We would love to show up our new building and learn more about you. And we'd love to come out, and if you guys are having community events, be part of that. And then one of the things right now that we're looking for, if anyone has any connections, is some outdoor furniture. So I thought I would throw that in there because I really love to have a glass of water outside on a picnic table. Then the last thing that I want to mention is that if there are some really good ideas about how we can continue to develop the transportation options here in Phoenix, we would love to be part of that. I'm really happy to be on this call today, and I'll definitely be spending more time taking advantage of the information that comes out from these meetings, because one of the huge barriers for blind people and any other disability that doesn't allow them to drive is access to transportation to get people to work. I mean, this city is wonderful, but it's huge. So having access to reliable and, speedy transportation of any kind would definitely improve the ability for people to find work and actually stay employed. So those are the big things that I have. And I would love to take questions if that's an option, or just thank you so much for allowing me the chance to talk about Savvy.
Thank you, Rachel, for your presentation. Definitely, it's very interesting. Like I said, this is my favorite part with the agenda, is to hear about their different agencies and the different populations that you serve and the different programs that you have. Again, if you have any questions for Rachel, please put in the chat or unmute yourself. Definitely, we want to provide the opportunity. If you think of questions after our meeting today, please feel free to send it to Ezekiel or myself, and we can forward that on to Rachel. And definitely, I would like, thank you for the open invitation to come and take a look at your new facility and to kind of get a firsthand experience with Savvy. It'll take me a while to remember the name Savvy Service for the Blind.
Okay, we're kind of just, it's going to be it's a process. We're not in a race, so.
Definitely. And thank you for again opening yourself and those at Savvy to attend other opportunities and other programs from other agencies. I think this is a great this opens up a really good coordination opportunity for everybody. We do, I know the majority of those on today are working with consumers who have mostly mobile restrictions or are developmentally impaired, but also this really brings awareness to all abilities or all abilities of the consumers that we provide services for. So thank you, Rachel, so much for this opportunity to learn more about Savvy and to hear about the great programs and really inviting us to learn more about you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
I turned my speech off, so I don't know if there was
Okay.
now. And
I was just reading a chat on, I was just reading the chat, but I think that was more of a specific one-on-one. Again, if you have any questions, feel free if you're thinking of it after. So thank you, Rachel, so much. I definitely would like to go to and take a look at your ABC program. It does sound really interesting, and I would want to chat with you later.
absolutely. And I know my information has been shared already in prep for this meeting. I would put it in my chat, but as I mentioned, my technology is not
Okay.
cooperating with me today. But feel free to share my information with whomever. Our web address is www.saavi.us. So we're pretty easy to find. And again, I'm Rachel. So if you're looking for a place to conduct those surveys, you can also visit us, because we do have, we are one of the groups that are making sure to reach out to our members of the community that don't often get to make sure their voice is heard. So come and check us out.
Definitely. That is a great opportunity, and we'll make sure to get that information over to you. And as Zacchaeus, if you can put that as Savvy's email address into the chat, that would be great. So thank you for those opportunities, Rachel. Okay, on to our next agenda item, and actually the next agenda item is me for Regional Human Services Transportation updates. We are ready to take on a new year of coordination activities, new year of TAP programs, and a new year of training and workshops. As Wendy already mentioned, MAG and the City of Phoenix staff are busy doing our internal review for the Section 5310 application process. I would also like to remind you, if you have been in, Zacchaeus Ocha has been in contact with you, please make sure to get any information to him by the deadline. We will be handing, make sure that you get your information to Zacchaeus. The evaluation panel will meet next week to receive all eligible applications. So we just want to make sure that we have all the materials that we can pass on to our evaluation committee. The evaluation committee will review all of the applications, and we'll meet again in April to develop our priority listing for the Phoenix Mesa urbanized area of Section 5310 funding. I just also wanted to remind agencies, if you are not located in the Phoenix Mesa urbanized area, the Arizona Department of Transportation is conducting their own Section 5310 application process. It is in full swing, and we do have information on our website regarding that. Or if you need additional information, please contact me and I can get you in contact with an ADOT representative. We did kick off our new year of training with the past training held on February the 24th. Zacchaeus it's such a great trainer. He's received so many great evaluation surveys. And I would encourage you, if you haven't taken our past training, Zacchaeus is great. Feel free to reach out to him. We have a listing of trainings on our website. We also will have a preventive maintenance training workshop on March the 22nd. Again, reach out to us if you'd like to register for that. Your feedback for any of the surveys or polls that we take helps us to develop our workshop and trainings. And the feedback that we had has helped us to expand the de-escalation workshop that we offered last year by golfers. We've had such a great attendance for that. I believe at one point we had over 80 participants for that one workshop. Golfers has looked at that workshop and is looking to expand it a little bit. So we look forward to the workshop this year and see the new edition of the information that you were presenting. Again, Ezekias, along with our other suffrage mobility managers, have set up the trainings and workshops for this year. Please take a look at the mobility managers webpage for more information. And also our suffrage mobility managers are a great resource. If you have any questions or you have any feedback on any topic you would like for us to look into, to research, to bring to TAP, please reach out to them or myself and Ezekias, and we would like to, we can see where we can bring those in. Oh, and then regarding trainings, we also have tips and ideas for 5310 proposal, which include interview skills and PM applications. That was previously in February. Ezekias did put the suffrage mobility managers email address into the chat. If you have any questions for them, please reach out, introduce yourself, and take advantage. They are a great resource for our community. One topic that we are continuing to look at, I know it is still an issue with some of our providers, is employment and retainment. So we hope to bring a workshop sometime this year and to the region on that topic. So I would like to move on to our next agenda item. And this is our updates from our suffrage mobility managers. Ezekias is the key person that is works with suffrage mobility managers. So I will hand this over to Ezekias to introducing our mobility managers. Thank you.
Thank you, Didi. Right now we're gonna go over with the update from the sub-regional mobility managers. For this staff meeting updates, the sub-regional mobility managers will be talking a little bit about the Section 5310 application, how they evaluate how they did this during this process, what roadblocks and what success stories they might have for the way that they applied, and things that they think other agencies that either apply this year or plan to apply next year should learn about how their experience went, and also get some feedback from you on your application. We also want to hear from you as they speak and they give their examples of how they felt during this application process. They also want to learn a bit more about how you felt about this process, what roadblocks do you encounter, and what success stories you had, so we can use those as a feedback when we plan our Section 5310 application for next year, so we make the process as smooth as possible for all the applicants. So I'm going to go ahead and start this discussion with Billy Parker. He's our sub-regional mobility manager with Chandler Gilbert Arc and sub-regional mobility manager for the East Valley. Billy.
Thanks, Ezekias. And it's nice to be on the call and to be involved in everything that's being talked about today, and some really great presenters and things like that. And just to kind of give an update on this round of the application, the thing that I found interesting, at least as it related to our organization, is as things sort of slow down on COVID, and you can tell obviously with Lori's presentation, COVID is still here, but things have changed some. So it felt like that was a theme that we sort of brought into our proposal, and felt like we had a lot of stuff to say that related to programs reopening and different things like that. So I thought that was really helpful. The application itself, I felt like continues to be pretty well set up with like not very much redundancy for sure, and like I had put in the chat also, I do a training every year at the request of Meg to kind of just talk to people about just tips and ideas for writing proposals. And this year, we actually expanded it somewhat and included other mobility managers. And we talked about preventative maintenance applications. We talked about interviewing skills. We had a representative from the opportunity tree that was really great to have her come on and talk about, kind of some of the strategies they used for the interviews and how that worked. And so I felt like that was really a really successful training. I think it worked out really well, and I appreciated the involvement of other mobility managers in talking about different aspects of scheduling and preventative maintenance and things like that. And we included the interviewing part because our organization ranked at the top for how we did in our interview, as did Opportunity Tree. Was very highly ranked as well. And so we felt like we had a lot to offer to that training. And at any point, I've said this before, but maybe some people haven't heard it. I've been doing the proposal since 1994, and it wasn't until the last 2 years that I actually have my director of operations that's taking the lead on it. His name's Michael Miller, and he's sort of picking up where I left off. But I've got many years of experience with the proposal and kind of been able to feel my way through different iterations, both with ADOT and with MAG in the city of Phoenix. So anytime you have any challenges with anything relating to the proposal or anything relating to the 5310 program, preventative maintenance, how to bill, how to invoice, different things like that. We've done a lot of that stuff, and I'm definitely willing to help out on that at any time. So that's really pretty much all we have going on right now. We're obviously just sort of in the wake of just having completed the proposal, and I have a couple trainings coming up. I have it's a moving target, or let me out of this box, it's called. That's in April 18th, and that one really talks about van sharing and vehicle disposals and all kinds of sort of collaboration possibilities that there are out there, and ideas, and always welcome people to come to that and kind of really get engaged in some of the conversation. I know from a mobility management standpoint, we're actually in the midst of establishing a van sharing relationship with STARS, and I've been working very closely with Justin McGregor doing that. And so that's been really positive. We have another training called It's a Moving Target, and that is on the 16th of May. And that started when COVID was hot and we were all struggling to try to just collaborate and figure out how to survive, essentially. And I kept that training, and usually what I do is I wait until a couple of weeks before it's time to do the training and kind of look at what current events are out there that we're all challenged with as nonprofit agencies, and then make that the topic of conversation. So a lot of my trainings are really meant to be guided discussions to the greatest degree possible. I can talk all day long, but I prefer not to, and like to involve people in conversations. So stay tuned, and that's about it for me, I think.
Thank you, Billy. Next, we have Justin McGregor.
Thanks, Hezekiah. One of the biggest tips I think I'll give everyone is keep track of your collaboration efforts. Make sure that when you collaborate with another organization, you write down the information of your collaboration and who they are and what details you either assisted with or they assisted you with, and what kind of collaboration that the two organizations interacted with each other. Also, make sure you know what applications are available out there to apply for. I recently was helping a few organizations with training, and the three organizations didn't know that they were eligible to apply for the grants for mobility management, or the grants for the vehicle maintenance upkeep. So make sure you know what you're available, and keep abreast of all the trainings and all of the things that MAG has to offer through emails. If you're not getting emails, let Hezekiah know so he can get the emails to you. But yeah, there's no organization out there that's 5310 member that should not know what they're eligible to apply for. So if there's ever any questions on that, please reach out to somebody and let them know. Unfortunately, there was 2 organizations that I found this out at the last minute, and the deadline had already passed for the application. So again, just make sure you know what you're eligible to apply for, and get your applications in by the deadline. And then again, just make sure that when you're filling out your applications, you're putting a lot of thought into it. Don't just try to rush through it. Collect your thoughts, answer the questions as the questions are being asked. Don't try to stretch, what actually happened. Give, factual information on there, and just make sure that if you're doing it for multiple years, that you're not repeating information from the previous year, because they will catch that and call you out on it. So that's pretty much all I have for right now. As Dee Dee mentioned, we do have a bunch of trainings coming up. The next training will be later this month in March. We have the preventive maintenance workshop on March 22nd, which I'll be conducting. So if you haven't already attended it, I would love to see everyone there. And that's all I have for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Justin. And if you are looking to participate on the preventive maintenance workshop, you can send me an email or just put in the chat that you were looking to participate on that workshop, and I can send you the information to register for Justin's workshop coming up on March 22nd. Next, I have Eric Panic with Center for Rehabilitation.
Thank you, Hezekiah. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Panic. I'm the Fleet and Facilities Manager here at TCH. I'll just briefly go over kind of our process for going through the application. Every year we have like a day 1 meeting when the application is released. We just go through the blank application and mark it up, delegate to all the different departments, things that, so everyone knows what their tasks are. And then for things like sam.gov or any other things that might require HR information, we'll reach out to them, or the finance department, any other people that may be involved in the process. We create, when it's time to actually start inputting stuff into the application, we create, or for at least the narrative portions, we'll create a Word document, a shared Word document. That way, it's a lot easier for proofreading, spelling and grammar checks, things like that. The Excel's not the best for word processing, so we'll handle all of that in Word and then paste it over into the application after we combine everyone's narrative information and coordination efforts, all of that. And then we'll have a couple of stages of proofreading, and then we'll be ready to turn it in. For us, the divide and conquer strategy can be a strength and also a challenge. Having a group effort is very helpful, but at times you can be, if everyone's not carrying their weight, there can be challenges associated with that. But TCH has also been doing these applications for for quite a long time. Our director of development, Dawn Hawking, she's also on this call. She's been doing these applications for over 10 years, is very familiar with them. For our training workshops, there'll be in the summertime. We'll have one in May and one in June. They'll go over, one is called Enhancing Mobility Through Technology. It deals with all the ways that you can use technology to help your 5310 program. And the other one is Fleet Management and Data Reporting, which goes over a lot of ways, tips and tricks that can help you with the application, the milestone report, and any other aspects of fleet management. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. Next, we have Travis Harrison. He is our newest mobility manager. Gumpers has been a mobility manager agency for a long time, but they have some change in staffing. Mark Butterbush, who used to be the mobility manager face of the program, now is their executive director. So Travis is taking on the duties of being a mobility manager with Meg. So we welcome Travis to the first step meeting, and the floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. Can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I never trust technology. So yeah, this was my first time. So looking at the document, it was kind of overwhelming at first, but I really liked how it was set up, and it made it very easy. At Gompers, we kind of do, like I'm sure everyone else does, it's very collaborative. So we have a facility manager who maintains the vehicles and keeps track of all of that. We have a transportation person that keeps track of how many people we transport a day, how many mileage do we do in a month, year, etc. And then Mark did actually do this year's grant writing. So I just kind of looked at what he did. He said he had no issues. And like I said, I was really impressed, just as someone coming with no background in this, how easy it was to kind of just go through the tabs in the Excel sheet and be like, oh, okay, I know what they would want here. So thank you, whoever initially put that together. That's kind of it. So yeah, like I said, Mark was the one who did our version of the application. So next year, obviously it'll be me, but I don't really have anything else to say.
Thank you so much, Travis. And we want to learn from you as well. We are always open for feedbacks. If you have been in one of our workshops, you know that we always have the feedback afterwards. And we also want to make sure that we hear from you. Didi, you are on mute. Didi?
Thank you, Ezekiel.
There we go.
Your microphone was a little low.
Oh, okay. Is it better? Sorry about that. All right. So as I was saying, if you couldn't hear me because of my microphone, as I was saying, we always are looking for feedback. If you were in one of our workshops in the past, you know that we always have a feedback at the end, a feedback survey at the end of the workshops, and we really use those to be able to inform our decisions moving forward. So we also are going to take the feedback on how you experienced your application process and how you moved along on getting your application done, on planning for our future applications as well. So just like Didi mentioned to every single one of our presentations, feel free to put in the chat, or if you want to unmute to give feedback on your application the same way that the supervision mobility managers did, or if you don't feel comfortable doing that right now, you can always send me or Didi an email giving us feedback on your application and things that we can improve, keep, or change for next year's application. I do want to point out one thing that I've noticed, and that this was a sub theme here with Travis and with Billy. Travis by being the new person that will be in charge next year, and Billy mentioning that Michael Miller um, has been taking on the duties of writing the application in the last couple of years. So also a new person in charge of that. And I did see a lot of applicants for this year had people that were maybe the first or second time writing the application. Um, I do want to let you know that there are resources for you if you're coming new, or if you know that the person that will be applying will be in charge of the application next year is new. We here at MEG provide a lot of resources for you with our 101 and the Q&A workshop with Billy and the other mobility managers as well. And also we are always open to answer any of your questions that you have, either through email, phone call, or through a video call if necessary. So always feel free to reach out to me and to Didi if you have any questions about your application moving forward. If you have questions about what you can apply for, also something that came up with Justin's comments, also let us know. As Justin said, a lot of previous applicants did not know that they could apply, for example, for preventative maintenance. And they might have missed the deadline because when they figured out that they could, it was too late. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what is the scope of the grant and what programs are eligible to get funding through this program, please also let us know. And with that, I'll give it back to Didi for the final remarks.
Thank you, Ezekias, and thank you for the great work and the support that you provide the mobility managers. And thank you for the mobility managers for providing your expertise and your experience to our participants. We can't stress this enough. Please reach out to them and introduce yourself, or get any tips that you can. They are here to support you. Max staff is here to support you. I would like to thank all of our presenters here today for taking the time out of your very busy day to share your information and your resources. I would also like to thank all of you for all the work that you do and for sharing your time this afternoon. We know you are the ones on the front lines providing these services. If you have any topics that you would like us to bring forward at a future chat meeting, please reach out to us. Thank you very much. And you have the gift of time. And thank you for your attendance here today. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.